What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Try Time Podcast, episode 61. I'm Matt.
And I'm Callum.
And as you can probably tell, we're filming this on the same day that we did the vlog, which went out on this Saturday.
It's coming out this Saturday.
Coming out
it's
this
not
Saturday.
Even out yet. Not
it's
even
not
out
even
yet.
out yet. Insider exclusives. Yeah, we've been to Bradford, as you can probably tell.
Yeah, and we've actually won a game, which is...
It's amazing what happens when... Well, what's the lucky charm?
Charlotte, don't let bloody dog in there, man. Don't let. Oh, we've got dog pod as well, by the way.
It's a Try Time dog cast for anyone who's watching.
Yeah, on video.
Well, you
yeah.
get out of the cupboard.
Yeah.
Right, well, while we're being attacked by a Labrador, what else has gone on in the world of rugby?
Lewis Dodd, not Lewis Dog, is signed for South Sydney. That were announced earlier today on the time of recording.
Yeah, is this the dog cast or the Dodd cast? We can decide later.
But
yeah, Dodd to South Sydney and Asiata to Hull FC are probably the two big ones. And Meekin joining the championship.
Yeah, a lot of movement with it being the start of May, and obviously the player movement has begun for next season and stuff.
So which of those think is the best deal, as I'm trying to restrain a very determined dog at this point? Hello, dog.
Right, I think the best deal... I like the McMeekin to Wakey. I think that's potentially the biggest one. Right, the dog has left the... Who let the dogs out? We did, there you go.
Elvis has left the building.
So, yeah, I think McMeekin to Wakey is the big one, I think. The big one that's kind of...
I mean, is it a shock? So we've kind of been expecting this version. Of course, he came through at Cass, so it's basically a move home. Another one of them is probably guaranteed Super League next year.
And that's Wakey, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see, obviously, why Wakey doing it. Obviously, it's going to be big money. Marquee sort of money, and McMeekin deserves it. Mentioned it when I spoke about him on the top 10 second rowers in Super League. Check
the video out if you haven't already to find out where he placed on that.
Yeah,
nice plug.
And I spoke about how he's, cause at this point he was only rumoured to be going there, but like he's earned that marquee money. One of the best second rowers in Super League, obviously to be on that video. But yeah, I think it makes sense for Wakey as well, who pretty much with these sort of signings of intent are basically confirming that they're in Super League. I mean, McMeekin ain't playing Championship next year.
No, I mean, we don't get the indicative grades till, what is it, October the 23rd, I want to say.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, but, you know, one would assume Wakefield are very confident about the chances. I'm sure there will be clauses in there should anything go tits up for them.
Yeah.
We've probably got demonetised, probably can't say that 4 minutes into a video, but hey ho.
Well, we don't earn out anyway.
Fair point. In terms of the others then, I guess we'll start with Dodd, that's the big one, and... You know, we'd seen him linked away from St Helens for a little while. Obviously, the NRL was the room. That's now been confirmed. I know we discussed it when we were at Headingley off camera, and you thought he wasn't necessarily NRL quality. Do you still think that's the case, or has your opinion changed over the last few weeks?
I really like Dodd, but I don't know if he's... It's not saying he's not NRL quality, but he doesn't scream to me NRL halfback in the same way that Harry Smith doesn't scream to me NRL halfback. I could have seen Lewis Dodd staying at Saints his whole career and being like that, you know.
But he probably didn't like being the scapegoat by the fans.
Yeah, I mean the situation at St Helens is very toxic at the minute. I mean the fans they've won 4 in a row, then they now don't like losing a single game, and there's a lot of entitlement there. And the whole fan base, and even like someone like obviously friend of the podcast Johnny has even been saying it's toxic. He's even saying the club's toxic, and he's the biggest St Helens fan going in it. So.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So you've got different players that scapegoats every week. You've got John Bennison, who is probably club villain number 1 in St Helens, but now he's not playing. They still haven't won. They've moved on to somebody else. I mean, he's Batchelor at the moment, who's copping a lot of the
and then it's in the past. It's been Percival, and it's
Percival's mutually loved and hated by every single person.
It's just weird because. You can't win every game. You can't win the league every season. You're competing. You're the second best team in the league.
Just be glad you've not dropped off like we have.
Yeah, like look at Lee, and that drop off.
I say whilst we're in a club that's dropped off even further, but you know.
You forgot to change that top as well. For the audio listeners, Matt has still got his Bulls top on from the game today.
Yeah, I was going to change it to an NRL one before we did this. However, Dogcast got in the way.
So
not even my dog.
But yeah. I mean, I don't mind. I think Dodd will do well. Is ultimately, I think it'll take him time to get sort of. I don't think he's going to walk into being their starting 7. I just can't see that. I think I could see more of a Will Price situation where he plays reserve grade maybe for a season and Blood's in.
But would he have accepted that? Because you've got to think Price is going over as a teenager. He's not really ever truly nailed the spot at Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Dodd's going over as St Helens starting 7 even, into a South Side where, well, ironically, their club's scapegoat at the moment, now that Demetriou has, I think, been sacked.
Yeah, that were
is the young number 7 that's currently playing there.
Yeah, so it's like
that's going to go well, isn't it? If they then turn on the young Pom number 7.
I'm going to say because he's already going to be on back foot because he's English really over there,
and he's not even an English international. Let's face it.
No, that's right. And he's not close. And he's not. I've seen post today on Facebook saying he's the best 7 in the league on his day. I don't see it personally.
Well, no, I mean, I think
he's not the best. He's in the top 5 English 7s, but he's not in the top 3.
I mean, what I was saying. I mean, George Williams England and George Williams Warrington are different players.
George Williams is I would argue the best halfback in Super League.
You've got Lewis, who although he's playing as a 7, is he more of a 6? There's a bit of a
I don't mind Lewis and
debate
Williams.
about that.
Lewis and Williams.
Either way, the fact he's wearing 7. He's probably in the conversation, and you'd probably say ahead of Dodd.
Yeah, and obviously Harry Smith is.
And I'd argue Sneed.
Sneed is Sneed is the best 7 in Super League by a country mile in terms of what a pure 7 does. He is that because Lewis is a hybrid of a 6 and a 7, so I have him in a separate conversation. Williams can play 7, but he is a 6, more of a 6. Smith, I think, does everything that Sneed does. He's a younger Sneed. I think Smith will be a better player than Sneed, but he's only young Harry Smith.
He's going to have to train his goal kicking up a lot.
Yeah, well, that's one of Sneed's big things. But yeah, I just don't. I think Dodd's great, and I think honestly, I'm really happy for him because he seems a good kid and he's good. He's a solid. No one's saying he's not even Super League quality. He's earned his right to be a good starting 7 in Super League. But
absolutely.
But I just don't know. But South Sydney, fair play, and we've said this in the past. We've done videos of the next 5 English players destined for the NRL. And
I guess the big question is probably if it does all go wrong, is it going to be Wigan or Warrington he comes back to and then pisses off the St Helens fans?
Yeah, well, we've seen that, haven't we?
We've seen Williams do it. We've seen Thompson do it.
Yeah, it seems to be a thing that, doesn't it? Really, but yeah, it's weird. It's interesting that, and I remember saying on the video the 5 English players destined for the NRL, and I remember saying it does seem like there's been a shift, and the NRL teams are focusing on these younger English players, and this has obviously come as after the emergence of like your Dom Youngs, who went over there as a nobody, even to English fans, and then has made him. So they're trying to get the Will Price.
I mean, to an extent, Lewis Murphy, because he was largely forgotten after spending a whole year on the sidelines, and certainly not someone who anybody down under would be particularly aware of, even if we in Super League remember his brilliant stats from Wakey before his big injury.
Yeah, so it's interesting how, and I mean it's bearing fruit because look at Kai Pearce-Paul, how well he's doing at the minute this season, like.
Yeah, which is ironic given he didn't set the world light.
I know you wasn't the biggest fan of him, and that's a similar one to Dodd, where you kind of think Kai Pearce-Paul, like he's a good Super League player, but is he that? Can he make that jump? And maybe Dodd needs that. And don't get me wrong, I would not be surprised if he goes over there and absolutely kills it as Williams did, because there were a lot of people saying the same thing about Williams when he went, and it really matured him as a player. So if he has to go there for 2 years, comes back home a better player, and it only can improve the Super League comp. But it'll be interesting to see who Saints bring in to replace him.
Yeah.
I've heard
Sneed's signed a new contract, so
which is the big one.
Been rumoured, which
Saints fans don't want.
No, I'd have seen somebody refer to him as Jamie Ellis Mark II, which I'm assuming is build and stature rather than talent.
Yeah, although arguably Abdul's better than Ellis ever was.
That's what I was meaning. Abdul is probably a better player.
Yeah, and I mean, where were Ellis at? He's at Abdul's age. You were probably championship with KR, weren't you? Probably around that time.
Probably.
So it's like,
do they want Frawley?
Yeah, but did they fall into that trap of bringing over an overseas 7? Do they go Hastings? I don't know. It's
probably attempting. I mean,
I think they've got a lot because obviously like players like Conrad Orwell are off contract, and you can't see Saints renewing that.
And how long did they sign Waka for?
I think we're at least 2 years. I can't see that being a 1 year deal.
Potentially not.
But they have got other overseas players that
Yeah, you could.
Your Surinens and stuff you could potentially offload on your Pars. It's not that I necessarily would.
I think I'd keep Pars, to be honest, especially with Walmsley finally looking like he is aging out a little bit.
Yeah. But, I mean, for me, if I'm a Saints fan, I'm not overly like... It's not like the end of the world. It's not like if Wellsbeard had gone.
But if you're a Saints fan, it's the end of the world because you've just lost to Hull KR.
Well, yeah,
and
true.
Paul Wellens isn't some superhuman coach that wins every time you step out on the pitch. So that is the end of the world.
At the end of the day, you do not... Saints are going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
I mean, I guess this is one probably to touch in a few weeks in terms of let's actually pull together some players that St Helens could actually sign.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
And let's do a bit of scout reports and see who we come up with.
Because realistically, we're recording this on Sunday night. By Wednesday, when this goes out, Saints have probably signed a new halfback for next season.
They probably already have, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So,
or at the very least, they've got their shortlist drawn up.
Yeah, so...
I mean, speaking of people who will need to be in the market now, Lee's certainly going to have to be active.
Yeah, Lee's the one where I've seen a lot of the fans panicking, and that's a good transition over to, I'm assuming, Asiata to Hull. Yeah.
You've got my segue well. Yeah, Asiata, of course, marquee move to Hull. I guess, first of all, is that a good move? I personally aren't convinced.
For the money that is being reported, I'll just cover Lee quickly. I think I can see why Lee and not go. We're not going to match that offer because it's like marquee money essentially. Which I'm not saying Asiata good. Obviously, he's knocking on a bit now, isn't he?
I guess my two things. Well, firstly for Lee, number one, he's not Tom Amone.
Yeah.
Number two, he's had a few quite worryingly large-scale injuries over the last couple of years.
And he's injured for most of the season
as well.
Age
where you kind of do... You're either going to go Jamie Jones Buchanan and suddenly you can then play every game for another 5 seasons and you think it had never happened. Or you're going to go the complete opposite and... I mean, I'm trying to think of the best example for it, but there's countless players who've gone... the fuzzy tours of the world who are perennially then injured, which...
Yeah.
That's not where you want your marquee money to be sat on the stands in the treatment room.
Oh,
he needs to be on the pitch, putting minutes in. And actually, I know we all say that every good halfback needs a good pack to play off, and all that stuff. But I personally don't think your forwards are where you want to be stacking your marquees, particularly unless you have some insanely good homegrown backline.
Yeah, which Lee don't necessarily.
No, I mean, you've got Latelli, who's reportedly been offered round. His contract's, of course, up at the end of this season. Hardacre, they're offering round. Contract's up at the end of the season.
Rumours of going to Wakey next season, I've seen. Which could be interesting.
Don't really know why Wakefield would potentially go there, to be honest, or where they see him playing him.
I could see him at Fev.
I could see him at Fev.
But then will Fev be able to pay his wages?
Depends how many offers he's got, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Because, I mean, if you think Wakey, you've got rumoured Cam Scott nailed on.
Seems nailed. McMeekan's been announced.
Yeah, although he's probably not playing in the backs.
No, sorry, I didn't realise.
I'm just thinking more in terms of where Hardacre fits. I mean, I personally wouldn't usurp Jowett at fullback.
No, and Wakey fans love Jowett. He is their...
Max, not Billy.
Yeah, he's their star.
And who's the other centre at the moment?
Well, they've got Thornley and Croft, aren't they, as the main two, but they've got...
So unless they're the two you're dropping and going for Hardacre and Scott as your centres...
Potentially.
Is that the plan?
I don't hate a Hardacre signing because he covers multiple positions, but it depends how much money he's on. And does he bring too much of a media circus with him?
And also, you're going back to the root of some of his arguably biggest troubles in his Cass era.
Yeah. So it's not...
Do you want to risk putting him in that environment again?
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
But I mean, for Lee, they definitely need some new bodies because obviously we said Asiata is not Tom Amon. Tom Amon is another player who is off contract this season. Massive rumours about him going NRL even, supposedly sniffing back
which
around.
Which he's good enough for.
You're probably not going to compete with that without throwing money that Lee... Well, they have got it.
They just don't usually...
But I don't think that would be a sensible use of marquee money.
No. And it's interesting just with Lee because it seems like a lot of the players are going out of the door and not much are coming in at the minute. I know they've...
And they do need to refresh because obviously last week, they were cruising 28 all against Castleford. It finished.
Yeah.
You saw early in the season they were absolutely battering Leeds at half time, lost that game. Okay, you had this club record win against Catalan. Wait, first time they've ever beaten the Dragons or something daft.
Yeah. Not that they've played each other a bunch of times.
No, but you know, Catalan's also incredibly inconsistent, and I think that's masked some of the problems at Lee. And I think for Lee fans, actually, it's very important that these things are out in the open and talked about because that's how the club are going to know that you know your fan base is aware of this and want to see, you know, progression because Lee probably are in this little Castleford, Toulouse, Wakefield battle for the final 2 spots in Super League. And whilst I think they should keep that spot, nothing's actually guaranteed until October.
Which is maybe why we haven't seen the marquees coming in.
But then the worry is if you're hanging fire for that to sign them, you're not going to be left with
much good.
I mean, what are you going to do? What have you got left? Someone who snorts a line down under and becomes available in the off-season. And even then, you'll have to look at Valentine Holmes. That doesn't always guarantee that they even move.
Yeah, true, yeah.
If you're shopping that late, it comes back to this whole problem that the newly promoted teams have had in the promotion relegation era, where because they can't sign till later on in the season, when the championship window properly opens,
yeah,
they're already on a recruitment back foot.
It's just a mess, and the system as a whole doesn't help.
Well, that whole thing doesn't work. I mean, every club should be free to start doing the signings from the same date. Why should the top clubs get a 3-month advantage?
Yeah.
I mean, that has always been a joke, but that's by the by. I won't think it's panic stations yet, because I think it's very clear that with all these players off contract, Lee will be very aware that these bodies need replacing. This isn't like you've suddenly got 3 players walking out of nowhere with weeks towards the end of the season who you've agreed early releases for, and now it's like, shit, where do we get these players? Yeah. This is something that they will have known and been planning for. Obviously, that doesn't necessarily help the fans in terms of that at the moment we don't know who those replacements are, but
yeah,
you know, things will be going on. A bit like St Helens in the halfback situation, things will be happening.
Yeah, you know, Derek Beaumont is not the sort of person who's going to just let his club go.
No, he's far more likely to let his Twitter admin go than his club.
Yeah. Well, but what do we reckon about what this move means for Hull FC? Is it a step in the right direction? The first signing of the Myler era, I guess, isn't it? I think it's the right sort of statement of intent, and it probably is smarter than the likes of your Franklin Pelés, Jayden Ockenbows that the previous era had signed. Oh yeah, because you know what you're going to get to a degree.
But I guess the problem is you've got Ockenbow, you've got Pelé, you've got Asiata, you've got SASA. I would argue Hull's pack is not their biggest problem.
Yeah. Well, you got like.
Take Ockenbow out of that. Like,
he's shit.
He's not a player that either of us two rate, and to be honest,
I don't think
the fact he's down to the reserves now decided he wants to be a completely different position. I don't know if I even see him at Hull next season.
No, I don't know where I see him though. They'll have to buy him out potentially.
Unless he also wants to go and just thinks, right, fuck it, I'm off back down under. This is shit.
Maybe. I mean, the interesting thing for me is like they've got players like, I know he's injury prone, but like I really like a Joe Cater. I don't, you know, like they've got a decent 13 there, but Asiata, he's obviously one of the best 13s in the competition, if not, he's up there in that conversation. But for the marquee money, I can see where Asiata's going, but I think for Hull, it's not a...
And I guess the worry is Cater is too injury prone.
Yeah, I can see where they're coming from that regard. But
I think for Hull, my worry is more what's your back situation looking like, because obviously Morgan Smith isn't the most popular man in Hull, but he's okay. I don't think he's going to trouble your top half of the Super League, but I also don't think he's going to be a problem for you as somebody to have alongside the right other half back, which
Truman.
Question marks over whether that is Truman. We'll wait and see how he comes back from this other big injury setback. Then your actual core backs, I mean, there's movement there, isn't there? Because obviously you've lost Hoy over the course of the season, so you would naturally expect Walker to take the number 1 shirt. I know there's a few Hull fans that thought Davy Litton would be number 2 at the start of the season, but obviously that's proven not to be the case.
Yeah.
I guess question marks over where he sees his future, because that's probably not...
Yeah, I could see a lot of movement with
Litton.
These young FC players that we spoke about. I could see them moving and getting away from the sort of...
I mean, do you think you keep young Martin on the wing?
Yeah, I like Martin. I think he's... I mean, they've brought Briscoe in as well.
They brought Briscoe into the end of the season. McIntosh are expected to go at the end of his contract this year. So that probably opens up a slot on the other side, which I'd imagine Tyndall keeps hold of.
Yeah.
Your centres, I think it's very clear Hull want to move. The fans at least want to Maravi to go.
But then if Scott's going to Wakefield...
If Scott's going, that leaves an opening with nobody internal really to fill it. I would imagine Sutcliffe stays at 4.
Yeah.
So you've got a 3 there to find.
A 2 probably, because you probably want another winger in as well as having Martin.
I think you probably give Martin the starting berth and get somebody in as backup.
Yeah.
And whether that is a Briscoe playing on for another year, potentially.
Which won't be the worst option, actually.
I don't think so. I can't imagine he's on silly money. You've still got a few other players to find, and then I think you also... I mean, what is their actual 6 and 7 at the moment? It's Truman and New Brown.
Which obviously were a situation that ended badly with the whole New Brown situation. So
yeah, because he's gone now, hasn't he?
So he's gone. Yeah,
so that's no recognised 7 in squad number.
But I've got young Charles, who I've seen playing more of a 6 than a 7, I'd say, but looks like he could be a promising young player.
But then with Truman's questionable injury record, do you want another body in to provide cover? Because realistically you probably don't want Charles and Smith as your main half-back rotation if Truman does have a recurring.
Yeah, you probably want to bring in, you probably want to have, Truman as your starting 6, the dog has returned by the way.
We're not signing the dog.
You probably bring in a new 7, I would say, potentially Marquee if you can find a good one, obviously maybe. Can we imagine if Hull well, that's a good point, Miley. You could have Frawley. He'll probably bring Caesar over, won't he?
He won't be bringing Luke Gale.
But like a new 7, and then you've got Smith as your initial backup in the halves, and you've got young Charles who you can loan out to Championship and potentially play if needed.
Yeah, almost on a dual reg or like rotation-y sort of loan thing. Yeah,
I think that'd be the smarter play for him really. So, but yeah, I think Asiata isn't the worst thing, but it's who else to bring alongside him. I don't think he's the worst player.
It's the worst marquee that worries me. I kind of think, what are Hull's marquees at the moment?
SASA definitely is on.
I'd say probably SASA, Pele potentially.
Oh, you don't know. But Asiata is a better
interested, which makes me think he's on a big money, and that's why he's here rather than he actually cares.
Yeah, well, maybe, I think the thing with Asiata is you've got this younger sort of core at FC coming through. I don't think Asiata's the worst player to have there to help usher them through. I don't mind it.
And also, let's be honest, by the time they are ready to take that starting berth, he's probably ready to say, right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Be that drop down the divisions over here or go back home and call time on the game for good, whichever route he decides to go down. I mean, who knows, it could be 3 more at 45 ripping it up in League 1 or whatever.
Yeah,
but
I'd take him at Bradford in 2 years.
Maybe see how his injuries go first.
Yeah, well, yeah, true.
You're taking Charles on loan when Gaskell eventually goes.
I mean, yeah, because Gaskell... I mean, we're on Bradford now, but Gaskell probably will leave at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, this isn't the Bradford cast.
Oh, it should be, though. We've
got
both
Gledhill for that.
Yeah. We're on official rugby league radio now, so
we are.
I keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
I'm like, someone's randomly listening to this who's probably doesn't enjoy this sort of humour.
Yeah, I apologise for all you on radio, but at least you can hear us this week.
Yeah, true.
Rather than the massive audio gap where they all thought we'd killed the station.
Yeah.
Great impact start for us.
Yeah.
That is the whole red card on your debut, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the Franklin pellet.
It's a good point actually. Liggy Sow will be off at end of season.
Yeah. Oh, they'll free it. They've got to have to free up. I mean, they're overseas quota players. I mean...
Oh, they'll be full of them.
Well...
Frawley, you know you want to go to the pride of Yorkshire as they call themselves.
Not even Yorkshire. Technically.
East Yorkshire.
I guess, yeah, Humber.
Yeah, depends.
Well, it depends who you're talking to, yeah. But I think, yeah...
Depends which one we can't claim one and not the other. And to be honest,
well,
I think
we're claiming KR and not FC.
Well, with the state of the other Yorkshire teams, I think we've got to claim KR at this point.
Well, yeah, true. But yeah, I think that probably covers it for FC, really, doesn't it? But
I mean, is that the transfers in general?
I mean, yeah, there's always, and like we say, we record.
I just want to touch on the other FC point.
Go on.
Well, you know, we've got our little fantasy celebrity rugby league boxing card, and we're doing Myler versus Burgess now.
Oh, well, that is a transition and a half, is that? But yeah, I mean, the whole Myler Burgess situation, funny.
Yes.
It really toes that line of, is all press good press for the game?
I kind of feel this is the most biggest non-story going. Warrington had an admin error that is punishable by docking of an interchange. Hull FC, they asked for dispensation. Hull FC were like, nah fam, you're already going to batter us.
Yeah.
Like, we can at least get this victory over you because we sure as hell ain't winning the game. Warrington won the game anyway. Nobody really cares. What's the story here?
I think it's one of them where Sam Burgess doesn't necessarily like Richie Myler, and that's
Sam Burgess doesn't necessarily like being told no.
Maybe, yeah. I mean,
I'm not going to make that segue. If your mind naturally gravitates to that segue, then that is on you, not me. I have said nothing.
Wow. But yeah, like you say, I guess the best way to say it is a bit of a non-story, really. I mean, it was funny to see. And it's, and
it's still been brought up nearly a week later on podcasts.
Yeah. I mean, like we say, we're recording this on Sunday, so when Hull FC sign like a full new 13 for next year tomorrow.
Nah, they've got the biggest game of the season on Sunday. They'll be all focused on that. London again. Is it at London?
At
I
London,
think.
yes,
so,
that'll be a good one. That. But yeah, I think
everyone go pack out Plough Lane and support the home team.
Yeah,
we don't want to see them getting nilled all season.
That's true. But I think at the minute there's a new rumour every day, there's a new announced transfer every day, so we might have missed a couple of big ones over the next couple of days for us.
Is there anything in our little crystal ball that predicted Broadbent to KR? Solid debut, by the way, coming in last minute for Oliver Gilbert. Shout.
I will predict that Wakey announced Cam Scott, which is not much of a prediction, and Lee announced a big signing.
Okay.
Which kind of covers what we've spoke about, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I think I don't know on recruitment is when a Leeds going to announce anything.
Yeah, Leeds have been quiet.
There definitely is stuff going on, and we all know Gary Etherington, the master of all the mind games, or he thinks he is, except we all know what is going on. I bet you anyway he'll come later in the season around the time season ticket renewal happens.
Yeah.
Because here's a big name to excite you that things might improve, and if that big name's not in the fucking head coach role, it probably ain't going to work. But you know.
Well, that's true. I mean, is that why Leeds aren't going for anyone? Because they know, I guess it's more they don't know actually who's going to be at the helm next year. But I've heard of him, which I've seen today on Facebook, which doesn't mean it's actual going to happen.
This isn't the same one about Myler having to be so desperate he's now going for Barrow's coach, is it?
No. Handley to Catalans.
I saw that. Don't see it myself.
Yeah, I don't see it. I was just wanting to know.
I think if the NRL comes knocking, which was kind of segued onto that, although was this serious about rugby league, so it's probably plucked out of, I'd say, thin air or someone's ass. Take your pick. If the NRL come knocking, it might be a different story. I don't see him going anywhere else in Super League, to be honest.
Yeah, I imagine Leeds would also match any offers he got.
Lads assume so.
Up to stupid money.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably got, I think, your 2 and 5 Handley and Hall locked in, really, for next year at Leeds. And then
Hall at 2, I can't see it. Hall is going to be number... This is my crystal ball moment. Next season, Hall is going to be number 25 at Leeds.
We like giving 20 to a third choice winger, though. Briscoe obviously
I could see him at 20.
I
could see him at 20, yeah. And then you'll sign a new number 2.
See, I don't know. Actually, this is why I don't think we will.
I think...
Or are we going bold and saying that number 2 is going to be sat on the shirt of one of the kids?
What, Love? Potentially. Louis Roberts, number 2.
No,
Leeds,
he's leaving at the end of the season. That's a good point. That's our big transfer announcement.
Go on. Has that been announced?
No, but I bet you any money somebody like Featherstone or whatever are going to announce Louis Roberts for next season.
No, a championship team can't, can they really? So I could see him at Salford. It's a Salford signing.
What, replace Nofaluma with Louis Roberts? Christ, that is a distinct change.
But I reckon there's another crystal ball. If that one I said before doesn't happen, Leeds, Hanley goes. So this is thing. Hanley's gone. Keep Roberts. You've got Lum and stuff as backups, but you're 5 to partner Hall. You go into the golden generation. Let me just take you back
Briscoe's not coming back.
The 2017 Rugby League World Cup, the best 2 wingers in world rugby.
McGill,
Jerry McGill, the ultimate number 2 and number 5 of English Rugby League are back.
Tell you what I did say, and do you know what? Actually, it sounds like we're hating on Roberts. To be fair, he's played very solidly.
He's done better than expected.
I did see someone genuinely say that he's alright as a centre, but not a winger. Yeah. So it is official. Louis Roberts has been called by somebody outside of his family as a centre.
Thing is, Louis Roberts on not a lot of money as like your kind of extra man who can cover them.
If we didn't have Riley Lum coming through, I wouldn't have a problem with him getting a 12-month extension as third choice.
Yeah.
I don't want him to be a blocker now for the next generation. The same way that I didn't want Olferts to be the blocker.
Yeah. Your problem though is he's the third choice winger, third choice centre, but you've got your first choice winger is bloody the most injury prone winger.
Well, our first choice winger should never have been given a 12-month contract extension last year.
That's true. But that's what your problem is. So Louis Roberts is now your first choice winger because Fussi Tua can't keep fit to save his fucking
life. But what's he played? 40 minutes this season.
Exactly.
Bear in mind, he started this season out after undergoing surgery for a completely different part of his body to what he was out on Boxing Day and all of last season with. Just deregister and tell him to sod off then. Like, what was the point?
Christ.
Oh, God. Do you know, it's annoying because he actually genuinely is a very good player when he plays rugby. And, you know, I'm sure he's a very nice bloke, but for God's sake, your body cannot hack it anymore. It's telling you something. Stop ripping everybody off. And more fool Hetherington for actually signing off on that.
Well, I reckon you replace Fussi Tua with a quarter spot player.
I don't. I think we're taking Hall as a cheap option.
But I have got the ultimate.
Oh God, it's not bloody Joe Vickery again, is it?
No, it's someone better than Joe Vickery. I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you what you can do.
It's not Hargate to Filler.
Oh, why have you ruined it, man?
Because I know how your brain works.
He had a right game today.
I don't want to Filler.
Why not?
Because he's not that good.
No, he's not. Well, we saw that at Wakefield. They weren't necessarily Super League quality.
He didn't even do much today. He bodied a couple of scrawny men in Glossop Canavan shirts.
Yeah, so maybe not that one.
Absolutely not that one. I'll tell you, it will be Hall and Hanley that start as the wingers next year. We will not sign a quarter winger.
Maybe, yeah.
We're going to have to cope by having 3/4 half-backs because one of them's only fit for Championship dual reg.
Oh, who are we talking about?
For all it's facts.
Oh. Well, they've got enough. overrated halfbacks. I mean, I'm saying that they have got.
You were the biggest Louis Joffre fan club
Oh
member.
no, I didn't mean that. I meant Widdop because Widdop's fucked that. I was speaking to a Fax fan the other day who I know like from work.
Did I not say this when he first signed?
Yeah, he's upset the apple cart in terms of that. Keys and Joffre were the perfect. There was I was saying they were, and they didn't even get playoffs last year, but they were the best halfback combination.
Widdop should not have been signed. I said that at the time.
Yeah.
And he certainly shouldn't have been signed to play in the halves.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if he necessarily was, but that's the way that they seem to be going with it. So,
which implies to me that he was.
So, but I feel like that's a good transition down to the Championship, where we can touch on quickly because we did speak extensively about it last week. The whole Sheffield Wake situation. Wakey obviously
quite substantially beating Sheffield, and I think cementing that they are winning that division this year and likely will reclaim their place in Super League with it.
Yeah, easily. But then it made me think about Wakey are not going to go unbeaten this season. I would be very shocked. Where is it where they could drop points? I think they go unbeaten at home.
Do you know? I actually am going to completely not answer that question and throw a different one at you.
Go on.
Given their sluggish start to the season, despite getting 10th in the preliminaries, is this Toulouse throwing Super League away?
Maybe. Is that what you think? Because they're just doing shit?
They're not performing on the pitch. There's obviously this whole continuing fallout about who's paying for whose travel with Catalans.
And they've also, there's been a significant decrease in the playing squad in terms of how good it is on paper, which I know Ruby's not played on paper, but in the past you've looked at that Toulouse team and thought, wow, there's some players.
Well, you've always thought that they're right up there.
Whereas now there's still got a few of them players, but the squad as a whole is not as menacing as it were a few.
No, and you've seen they've lost to Bradford,
even last year.
They've lost to Swinton at home, which would have been unheard of a few years ago. Like, this is not a side that's firing on too many cylinders. And
scraping past Dewsbury this past weekend.
Yeah, Dewsbury put up a great fight against Toulouse, which, I think we all said Dewsbury probably gonna
14th,
finish
the prediction.
Bottom. I mean, granted, I still stand by that. They are staying in games and putting up some really valiant efforts, but I just don't think squad's there. I don't see Toulouse doing anything special. I think the problem is, if this is your big push to show why you're usurping Castleford or Wakefield, who are both very established Super League teams, then, what are you really adding to this equation for IMG to look and say, yes, we're going to give you the grade? The only difference, I think, is probably they've probably got a nicer stadium than certainly Cass.
Yeah. The expansion of the big city.
I was just going to say, and the name, if you're looking to promote, I guess European wide, but also even in terms of over here, you're probably more drawn to something that says Toulouse on it than you are Castleford.
Well, yeah, obviously. And I mean, the RFL are doing their best, I guess, to try and help Toulouse showcase this. I mean, having the mid-season international there, with the men's and the women's games. I mean, we were joking the other week about, because Toulouse are playing for the same day, our players
that Toulouse have got to have no squad.
Yeah, but
which I think is a genuine question. Like, I don't know how that's going to work.
No, we'll have to see close to the time. But it's like they are trying to help Toulouse to showcase this, and if Toulouse are just going to throw it away, then I mean.
And also, like, you look at the last stint in Super League, they were okay for a team that had just come up and stuff, but they weren't, even on the home games, like, the attendances weren't phenomenal.
Not as
it wasn't Catalan levels where you think actually you acknowledge they're going to have a lower home attendance because that, and I don't want to say this all relies on the away support, but whereas you've got like Hull's, your West Yorkshire clubs, your Lancashire clubs that all have big derbies that bring very big away funds and boost your... I mean, you look at Hull FC. They've got one of the best averages in the comp because they had 20 odd thousand there on opening day against KR. They've come nowhere near to that since.
Yeah, but it had...
Same with Wigan and Saints, how that always boosts. Leeds Bradford always used to boost both clubs.
Which is one of the reasons why they actually... Like, why they're fighting to a degree for Bradford to be, and why RFL over the last 5 years have wanted Bradford to be there because of the crowd pull. I mean, we went to York 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't a bad showing today at Swinton, but
but fair play to York, they even brought the fans out for that one.
It's like, you get a certain away following that you don't get with a lot of teams, which I know away following doesn't mean shit, but it's a significant sign of a core amount of fans that are willing to support the club through thick and thin.
And I guess for Toulouse, they're not going to have that the same. Especially not in a world where you've then got 2 French trips instead of 1, because, the reality is you might be at a stretch to 1. 2's probably too far for a lot of fans. And that's where you need to say, is there that home core there? Are Toulouse fetching a good 7,000-8,000 strong locals into the game? And if so, you don't care about that. It's sat in your little IMG boardroom.
Yeah.
Because for all Dave and Ken on Twitter or on Facebook have a slanging match over whether or not that means that they shouldn't be in Super League because the crowds are barely bigger than Huddersfield or whatever, then, that's irrelevant. If actually your attendances are only 3,000 or 4,000 and that's not really growing, that's when you start to question, is there something actually to build here, or does there need to still be more groundwork? And it is ebb and flows, because you look at London, smashed 5k in the opening week of the season.
Yeah.
More and more people aren't going because they're sick of getting battered every week.
Yeah.
And that's where I think London have been allowed to fail by basically being told they've got no chance of retaining the Super League status regardless of what... I mean, they could win the Super League and still go down, which is mental. I mean, obviously they're not going to, but
No, it is crazy, really, because, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what sort of side London could have put out if there wasn't this IMG, would they? Because they would have gone for it, no doubt.
Because in my mind, what I'd have done, rather than necessarily just picking the top whatever clubs, I would have said, your Category A clubs are exempt from relegation. Any Category B club is subject to promotion relegation to the extent they finish in the relevant position. Your carve out you'd probably have to do on that one would be if a Category A team finished bottom of the league and therefore were exempt, they would be automatically decreased to B for the following season just to stop them getting too cosy there, and you probably have to think about what that does to the team that then wins the championship but can't go up.
Or do they go up in place of the 11th place, the next lowest?
But then that kind of feels like, well, you've survived, but you haven't survived.
That'd be too confusing to attract fans as well.
Yeah.
On a Sky graphic where, today we've got Saints against Castleford, and we've got an A grade team, and that'd be on their A grade in brackets, and it'd be you'd be looking at league table, and there'd be like 50 asterisks.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, it'd be awkward enough to explain. Well, if Hull lose tonight and go 12th, they will stay in Super League. However, if they get a win and Castleford finish 12th, they will be down. That's weird enough. Don't get me wrong. But when has Rugby League ever done that? Do you know what? Fuck it, bring the 8s back.
The 8s was so good, it just was. And stop crying just because your team got relegated because of it.
No, I think bring the 8s back and let the club sign players at the same bloody point in the season.
Yeah.
That way they can actually prepare and both teams can put these contingency clause signings in. If we get promoted, we sign X rather than... Oh, we can't sign you, Mr. Marquee player from Australia that wants to come because he's already signed for a club that's got the same clause in 3 months preview we're now facing in the £1 million game. Stupid.
Imagine 8s this season.
Well, what would you have? You'd have London, Hull,
Cass and Lee.
Cass and Lee probably. Up against, Wakefield, Sheffield, Bradford,
Fev. Them four just...
TBC.
Probably Fev though, because we don't know... I know there's Fev fans who listen to this, so I don't want to upset Fev. Well, let's say Fev, because we're saying Toulouse are throwing it. If Toulouse keep going how they're going, they won't be top 4. They'll be playoffs.
Don't forget, I put Widnes there at the start of the season.
Widnes. Yeah, to be fair, Widnes. I'm not. Yeah.
Round out another win today. Yeah. You know, whoever that fourth team is, like you say,
any of them, I think they'd beat London, all of them. They'd beat FC currently. They'd give Cass a good game. They'd probably lose to Lee.
But we say
apart
this,
from Wakefield, well, beat them all.
You say this, whereas Cass have just plugged in a great result and drawn against Lee.
Yeah, but I think both.
A Lee side with a Pape back. So, I don't know. I feel like Cass are improving under Lingard.
No, yeah.
And like the likes of Tex Hoy coming in, Corey Hall, the other senior, has kind of given them a bit of a lift.
Yeah, rejuvenated the side, you could say. Yeah.
But
yeah, it's going to be interesting sort of few weeks ahead. But yeah, I mean that's all come from us saying that Wakey beat Sheffield, by the way. And where do Wakey slip up this season? This is its closing statement here before we end the pod.
I don't think they do.
You think they go unbeaten all season?
Unbeaten.
26 games.
26-0-0.
I'm going to make a prediction that is going to be very counterintuitive. They win all the way, all the home games.
Yeah.
Away, they've already been to Batley and got that win.
Yeah.
That was one of the tricky. That was the one.
Are you going to say Barrow?
No. Barrow is a hard place to fucking go. There's a lot of hard places to go.
Not Swinton.
They've got to go. I'm going to say Swinton.
After watching that drivel that they've just put up against Bradford,
I honestly think Swinton on their day at home could beat Wakey. Don't get me wrong.
Wow.
The stars have got to fucking align for Swinton, but
the stars got to align for Swinton. Wakefield have got to have 15 players out.
You never know, mate.
I mean, unless they're serving the Arsene Wenger lasagna, I don't think it's happening.
The obvious answer is away to lose, but I think that's too basic. I want to be Swinton away.
Yeah, but I also don't think they're going to lose.
When do they play? Let me see when they play Wakefield.
Right, well, you get your fixtures up, and now what can I waffle on about while you do that?
Bulls game today.
Yeah, Swinton. They offered absolutely
deck pattern.
Nothing.
There you go.
His greatest game in a Bulls shirt.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even in a Bulls shirt. I mean, for those of you that don't follow the Championship, we had penalty to Swinton for Fenton Rogers foul play incident thing.
Yeah, it was just a cut.
Yeah, no run-of-the-mill penalty.
Like penalty which were fair.
Patton chelps off at him, gets sin-binned.
Chirps off
for getting sin-binned. Penalty reverse, descent penalty to Bradford. Deck, take a bow, son, because that is... It's a shit. If there's any cameras on that is on Amateurish Rugby League by the time we release this pod. Yeah. What did you say, 1st of September?
1st September, but the next league game, obviously it's Cup semi-finals next weekend, the next league game is at Wakey, Swinton at Wakey.
So that could be an interesting precursor. If they lose like 64-0, you might look a bit egg on your face at this point.
We'll see. All can happen before September.
I don't think Swinton are going to somehow become the richest team in Super League, bring Jonathan Thurston out of retirement and kick Wakey to death.
No, I'm saying Swinton's the sort of environment where if Wakey are going to drop points, it'll be in a away day like that. I don't think it'll be at one that you'd expect.
Well, I guess in that case, let us know what you guys think. Will Wakefield go unbeaten the whole season? If not, where's it going to all fall apart? And that's probably the closing question, so let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Because I think we've covered Rugby League in 50 minutes.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.